There's a distinct difference between power and force. Power doesn't need to prove anything. It doesn't need to fight for anything. It doesn't need to peacock for anything. It just is. And it's very easy, especially if you have a strong personality on the other side, that you start being more docile and passive. And you're like, I'm just going to keep the peace. I'll just whatever she wants. Well, that creates a distorted dynamic. We start with presence. Presence is power. It's not about you going and doing a bunch of stuff. It's who you bring to the table. It's your presence. Presence carries power. Goes to the Lord. It gives me a lot of peace to know that you are going to the Lord. Hey, welcome back. It's Christine Jewell, and today I am joined by my husband, Mark. Again, we are back in the house, and today we're going to be talking about how to lead a strong, independent woman, a powerful woman. I get this question all the time from people. Obviously, a lot of high capacity leaders are also married to high capacity women. And so how do I lead her effectively so we stop butting heads like two bulls in a china closet and really get her to trust me when she is so strong in her opinions and her vision of how she wants things to go. So I hope that today we're going to help you get some fresh perspective, offer some insight, as well as some tactical strategic steps that you can put into place this week. Let's dive into the conversation.
Let's go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I've got some great questions.
Mark is interviewing me today,
I've got some
y'all.
Great questions queued up for you because this is a topic that comes up a lot. So before we get into the biblical side of this, I want to know, Christine, you're certainly, I think, one of the most standards-driven people that I know.
Am I really?
Yeah. And as we continue to level up, right? Even more so. You're very strong-willed, beyond standards-driven. You're very, you certainly have opinions from time to time on certain things, right? And it's fun to go shopping with you because it's not this. It's not this, not this, not this. It's a very different type of shopping experience, and then you know exactly what you want when you're ready for it, and it's usually the most expensive thing. But describe what it actually feels like to be you in a marriage.
Oh my goodness, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Describe what it feels like to be me in the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends what season of our marriage. What time of our marriage, what season. Yep. I think if I know that it has felt very different throughout the years. To be honest, we've gone through seasons, and I just got done recording a solo cast on this where honestly I felt super frustrated, and frustration was my familiar home base because, to be honest, nobody was moving fast enough. No one was meeting my expectations quick enough, or really understanding, grasping what I was trying to communicate. And so I think that I went through seasons of a lot of frustration with you, frustration with the kids, frustration with the team. And then we've gone through seasons where I have felt, and we're definitely here now, where I feel very supported and grateful, and it feels amazing. It feels amazing because I'm like, yes, we're unified, we're on target, like we're heading in the same direction. Not only do I feel clear, but I feel like you're clear. You have visionary direction for the marriage, and we're really united. And I'll just say this for myself. It feels amazing. I've always been grateful to be in a marriage because I know marriage is God's design for multiplication. And at the core, we all want to be unified and connected and have that person that's in our corner and that person that we can do life with and conquer and slay. But it hasn't always felt amazing. In fact, there's been times where it's felt really discombobulated and stressful. And there's times where it's been really more connected than ever. And just felt really a place that was safe. Yeah. But also a place of power.
Beautiful answer.
Yeah.
Follow-up question to that. What do you feel like you need that most husbands are not wired to give as a high-powered leader?
I'm just going to say this. I know this very much so because I get this question a lot, especially with men who say, my wife is like She's really intense. She's really strong. You said I'm strong-willed. I
Mm-hmm.
have been strong-willed since it's in my spiritual DNA and it's in my soul DNA and it's in my physical DNA. I've been wired to
You're
just,
small but mighty.
I'm small but mighty. That's what I always say, you know? And I just remember thinking back, even as a child, like I was a very strong-willed child. Some people would call that rebellious. And if it goes the wrong way, it can definitely be a rebellious sort of spirit that wants to fight back, that wants to push back, that wants to disagree. And, you know, with every gift, there's the opposite side of that. And when our gift is hijacked or we're operating from a wounded state, we will turn into that rebellious creature that wants to put on the gloves
Mm-hmm.
and fight you at everything. And pride starts taking over. And now we're in a battle against each other. But when you have someone who has a very strong will and a lot of passion and a lot of fire and a lot of desire and a lot of vision, that's a lot of creative energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of life force that's flowing, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know if people listening can relate to this, but energy needs to be channeled, and it needs a container through which to flow. And what I have found is the times in my life where I've struggled the most in relationships is, number one, when I was most disconnected from the Lord. So I didn't have that structure of solidity of his presence around me and his guidance to kind of be the rail. So it was just like all over, you know, energy spilling out all over the place, very chaotic. It's like a water that's rushing of a river without banks.
Mm-hmm.
There's water all over the place. It's just chaos. You know, it's
So you
like,
need
oh
the
my God, it's a
structure.
flood. Yes. So as a woman that has a lot of that life force and energy and ideas, you need a lot of structure. And I'm not talking about rigid structure that stifles you. I'm talking about the capacity to
Mm-hmm.
hold space for, you know, intensity, for emotion, for movement. And this is the thing that I know that a lot of the men struggle with, that I've worked with, that I've heard from, is their capacity doesn't feel like it matches.
Mm-hmm.
Or do I have the capacity to be able to hold space for her? I don't even know how to hold space for my own emotions. How am I going to hold space for her? She's like a raging ocean.
Uh-huh.
Or, you know, you've talked about this where you say, I'm going so much faster than you. And you're like, hold on, I'm just trying to keep up. So it's like my water's flowing way out ahead. And you're like, but I still need you to have that capacity. And so I'll just say this. I think the last year, your word of the year was discipline last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This year it's freedom. Last year, you decided to stop drinking. You decided to get really focused. You're like, Operation He-Man, I'm getting the best shape of my life. I'm going to be so focused. And I really saw, as you started to focus on your own internal discipline, your capacity,
Mm-hmm.
your willingness to say no. I mean, you gave up alcohol long before everybody else did. You know, you were making decisions and standing really solid and building the structure. And it was like building capacity that would be able to hold everything that I wanted to pour in. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense? And so
Mm-hmm.
if the banks of the river aren't there, it's just going to be a hot mess of emotion and orders getting barked everywhere, because you need those banks of the river to channel the focus, to
Yeah.
channel the energy. And so I would say that the long-winded answer is that we need capacity and structure around us to match and exceed
Gotcha.
our own.
So no matter how powerful the woman is, she's the big boss at work. She's maybe
I
the
don't think
CEO, a
so.
vice president, a team leader, at work. Or maybe you're at work, but she's the big boss at home, taking care of kids while you're out doing the things. Um, I guess so. What I'm hearing you say is that when the man, and you're using me as the example, but when I went to work on my inner game,
Your
really
internal
clean,
capacity, your
really
internal
cleaned up the
certainty.
inner capacity, that's when the tides started to shift, started to turn a little
When
bit.
I was able to relax more, because I'm like, oh yeah, he can handle it. He can handle,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of movement. Or if I was going through waves, hello, I'm like going to be 50 next year. So I'm going through perimenopause. So I'm highly creative. I'm highly innovative. I'm highly visionary. And I had some, ocean of emotions sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
that you continue to be able to build your internal capacity to be able to hold space. And what I see, from going back to what you said, women who are high capacity leaders at work, maybe they're CEOs, presidents, they're in executive type seats at work. You don't want to go home and have to be the boss at home too. I mean, even though that's the role, it's hard to switch. We got to switch roles. but it's actually so exhausting because now you're constantly in decision fatigue, because now you have to make all the decisions at work. Now you're at home. Everyone's still like, what should we do? What do we need for dinner? Where should we go? What should we do? Where should we put this? And you never get a chance to come out of that hat and just be a wife.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could, to be a wife that is still carries a lot of energy and a lot of power and is very strong-willed, if I have to be the structure everywhere, then I don't have the ability to pour that life-giving energy to create, to nourish, to speak life into you, because I'm too busy holding the thing together logistically.
So I think most men will hear that and say, and think, okay, then I just need to do more at home.
Yeah. No.
Can you clarify that for me?
I think the main thing is the level of certainty that you guys bring to the table, because and it's very easy, especially if you have a strong personality on the other side, that you start being more docile and passive, and you're like, I'm just going to keep the peace, I'll just whatever she wants. Well, that creates a distorted dynamic now, that like you're actually not leading. You're not leading with certainty. I have to be the certainty. I have to be the direction. I have to be the one that's making decisions. So it's not necessarily about doing more, although yes, step up and do more, because I actually see a lot of men that are trying to do everything. They're folding laundry, they're cooking dinner, they're trying to do everything, but they're still not leading with capacity. What they're doing is they're reacting to her moods. They're reacting to her.
Correct.
And so all this doing is a desperate attempt to try to get her to relax, and it never works. Instead of being able to hold space, meaning the energy you bring to the space. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. You're not butting heads with her, but you're able to make some decisions.
Yeah.
Or, at least lead with a decision and say, what would you love to add? Or what are your thoughts? What do you want to contribute? Let's go back to something as simple as like making dinner. Because that's, as simple as it is, it's such an energetic drain for so many people. It's like, oh, what are we going to have for dinner? What are you going to have for dinner? Instead of like, hey, here's what I'm thinking for dinner. I'm going to grill some steaks, or I'm going to do that, right? Do you have a preference? Or you start to schedule like meal planning, or, not that you're doing the meal planning, but you're taking some initiative on taking the lead on some things, instead of just reacting or just taking orders.
So I think that's a really essential thing for men to hear, and to just pause, maybe rewind for a minute, go back, listen to that again, or just hear this, which is it's not about doing all the things. Like doing all the things does not make her feel more certain, does not make her feel more grounded, does not give her more structure. In fact, it may actually do the opposite, because now you're doing the jobs that she maybe feels like she should be doing, but you just never talked about it.
No, now you're doing them, and you're not doing them right, and you're not doing them to the standard that she wants. So then she's like, why can't you do anything right?
And you're doing it resentfully.
Yeah.
Because, and this is what I did in my first marriage, and I've even done it in our marriage. Like, I'll just start doing the things, and I will do them because just like I feel like the ocean is raging, and the only thing I know how to do right now is like fold this laundry or mow this lawn, which I love mowing the lawn. That's my thing. But cleaning this garage, cleaning this part of the house, sweeping the floor, whatever the thing is, just so that's not going to be another trigger. And when you do that long enough, but she still gets triggered anyway because maybe you didn't do it right, now you become resentful of it. Right?
Well, and I think that what you're saying, if you listen to yourself, it's like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And we create these environments where it's all about the performance. It's all about the doing. And so what happens when you have a performance-based relationship? What are you going to measure? You're going to measure performance. How much did you do?
Yeah.
How much did you do, and how good did you do it? And so somebody who's highly driven, like, how much is enough? And is it ever really good enough?
Yep.
So this is about making the shift from us being a performance-based couple that is always having to do and outdo each other, or do to keep the peace, do to create certainty, do to create connection. We lead with being, presence. And that's why when we talk about our rapid implementation challenge, which is our 4-month coaching container for men who want to lead more effectively at home, we start with presence. Presence is power. It's not about you going and doing a bunch of stuff. It's who you bring to the table. It's your presence. Presence carries power. You can be in the room doing a million things, and your presence is like a wisp of air. Like you're not even there, right? She doesn't feel your strength. She doesn't feel your structure. She doesn't feel held. Now you're just like a maid. Now you're just like a cook. Now you're a taxi
Yep.
driver. Now all of those things are helpful. Doing should flow out of being. So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing all this stuff in order to access some sort of connection, I've got it backwards. I
Mm-hmm.
need to show up and connect first,
Yep.
and then say, hey, what support do you need?
Mm.
What's the most important thing tonight to
So,
help you relax? Or what's the most important thing that I can, and that's something that you do really well, is like, and you didn't used to be that way, to your point. I saw you frenetic for a while, trying to like dance around and almost like
mm-hmm.
try to do everything. And you were exhausted and you were tired. And I was frustrated because you were never doing anything the way I wanted, because I was measuring performance. And so it, everything started to shift. We've gone through a lot of work on this,
Yeah.
and we've done a lot of internal work on ourselves, on the identity that we're bringing to the marriage, where our security comes from. And then we decide to bring connection, we bring security, we bring peace, and then we ask questions from there, or we make decisions on what we're going to do from that. So you lead with being and stop focusing all the time on doing. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this is important, because a high capacity, highly driven woman is probably a high performer in her past life, or has been
Mm-hmm.
one for a long time. And chances are that either one or both of you are in this place where you are shedding an old performance identity that's like, I need to perform for love, I need to perform for affection, we always need to be growing, we always need to be doing, if we're not
Mm-hmm.
growing, we're dying, like that whole thing. And certainly we've had to slowly die of that old thing. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be creating. In fact, I think we're creating more
Mm-hmm.
now than we've ever been creating and building, but we're doing it from a different being, a
Mm-hmm.
different identity. And so now the marriage is not about fixing each other all the time, or having to fix her mood, or make sure that you are performing so that she can be calm. You are leading from a calm place.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
So good. One thing I want to clarify to something you said earlier, maybe about 10 minutes ago, was, you said I quit drinking first,
Mm.
right? So I don't want dudes that are listening to this to say, "Oh, I got to quit drinking." Like that's the key. That please, if that's what you got, then you go back, re-listen. You missed the message. For
Why did you
me,
quit drinking?
that was one of the key contributors to my lack of presence.
Mm. Can you talk more about that?
So it just was like, this isn't like I had a drinking problem. Like I did 75 hard, went all that time, more than 75 days without drinking. I've done that a couple of times before this, uh, but it also, I would say the basal rate of drinking around here was probably about a bottle of wine 3 or 4 nights a week. Fair?
Mm-hmm.
Between you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And
And the kids.
and the kids, so for me, like,
Older kids, not
yeah,
our.
yes.
Yes.
I was going to say something sarcastic. Let's not go there. For me, even just like one glass of wine with the meal reduces my ability to be as present and effective the next day. It actually makes me lazier because it builds up over time, right? It's not just one glass of wine tonight. It's like it's the
Cumulative
compounding
effect.
effect over time. A little bit of sedation, a little bit of sedation. Because what happens is, if let's say you go through a somewhat stressful day, maybe not like a super stressful day, not like an easy day, but just like maybe even a productive day. Maybe it was good stress. And I would find myself wanting to celebrate with a glass of wine. So never fully able to actually embody the success of that day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you cut off that when you go for the
Yes.
alcohol,
Yes. It
it
numbs you
shuts
out.
off the brain's need to do something, to talk about that, to even just be with itself and integrate what you achieved over the course of that day. And so often for me, success led to more drinking because I was celebrating, and I felt like that was my programming from the time I was young.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Party!
Like, you get to party when you it was our fraternity motto: work hard, play hard, right? Play hard usually meant party hard, and that was what we did. So that would be one way. Or if I'd have a bad day, it's like, well, glass of wine is an easy way to shut that down. Again, I don't have to integrate it. I don't have to talk about it. I can just we just move on, and we sort of shut that thing off. And so it's
bypassing, by the way.
It's a way to sedate the highs and the lows. Okay. And over time, as that compounds, it actually reduced my ability to be present in certain
And hold
places, to
space.
be more intentional. And to what Christina's talking about, like one of the things I've gotten really good at now is taking time, whether it's early in the day or even a bigger chunk of time somewhere in the week, or we take larger chunks of time somewhere in the month, to actually think about what's going on
Hmm.
and to sit down, and I'll talk with my AI agent about, like, here's all the things. This is what's on my mind. This is
Hmm.
what's going on in my world. This is what's going, and like, help me calendar this out. Help me help me help the family see what's going on around here, so that we can have some structure around all of that. I didn't do that before because I didn't have the energy to. I
Yeah,
didn't have the
you
presence
are
to.
not focused. You are not as clear. You are not as grounded.
Hmm.
And again, whether it's alcohol, whether it's eating, whether it's sedating and
Or not working
escaping
out.
with other things,
Hmm.
the reality is, I remember many nights, this was very common, where I just, the minute you started drinking, I was like, ugh. And again, it's not that you were getting wasted, but I could feel like just sitting next to you, like this low grade buzz
Hmm.
of not you being buzzed, but your nervous system.
Yeah.
I could feel your insecurities, your, doubts, your ungroundedness even more so. And then obviously with the alcohol, just disassociating a little bit and creating that little bit of
Yep.
numbness. Now the numbness is a lack of being fully emotionally available. So now it's
Hmm.
like, okay, physically you're kind of a little bit checked out. Emotionally you're disconnected because you don't have that magnetism, And again, that really affects, I'm just going to say this, that affects the ability for a woman to feel really connected, to feel really
Mm.
safe and supported and held. And so it's kind of like, okay, now I have to just hold myself together. And I want to say this because I recently recorded a solo cast where I said one of the biggest mistakes I made earlier on when we were married, because I felt like you were really an answer to so many of my prayers. I remember, I used the example of before I met you, I had made that list. I was like, God, if the next man I meet is not like every single thing on this list, I will be single forever. Like I'm
Hmm.
not going into another relationship because I knew what I wanted. I knew what God created me for. I just had such a strong desire to have a marriage where we could be, yes, a power couple, but work together, serve God, like be united, like all the things. And I wasn't willing to settle anymore. And so when we got together, I was like, oh my gosh, he's so consistent. He follows through. He takes care of me. Like he's leading. These were all these things that I desire and I'd been praying for and I wanted and I asked for that I didn't have in my
Mm.
first marriage. And so in the beginning, of course, everybody's like on it, we're going to be all the thing for our spouse. But then what happens after the chemical romance starts to wear off? And then you realize, oh, I actually married a human, not a god. Like, oh, human, he has a past and he's got history and he's
Hmm.
got some baggage like I do that we brought into the marriage. And he has triggers from his past. And so as I started to realize, like, I had put you on a pedestal and
Hmm.
I started to put you in a seat that only God could truly have. And so I was setting you up to be basically chronically disappointing me
Yep.
because there's no way you could live up to the expectations I had. Right. And so I'm bringing this back to what you said at the beginning of like me having really high standards. I do. And I do believe, ladies, if you're listening, and men, the queen does set the standard. Okay. Y'all, like a man will have a house and it'll be
Yeah.
like a bachelor pad forever until a woman moves in and makes it beautiful because we're like designed to be the life that adds, that multiplies, that amplifies, and makes things better. So a woman, I believe, will always have a higher standard in many ways for a lot of
Yep.
things. But I'm saying all of that because, one of the mistakes I made early on when I thought, oh my gosh, this is like an answer to my prayer, is I had put all of these unrealistic expectations on you to be able to hold a level of capacity or provide a level of security or certainty or assurance or
Hmm.
validation or whatever it is. And I think we both did this that only God could really do. And so at the end of the day, regardless of, especially if you have somebody who's really strong willed and really driven and really, at the end of the day, the source of our strength, the source of our power, the source of our security cannot be her opinions of you, her approval of you, or you providing enough, doing enough, or whatever, that she
Right.
finally says, okay, it's enough. Because it's kind of never going to be enough, and it's always more than enough at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 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 We could go deeper into that one, but I want to pivot for a
Yes,
minute
pivot.
because first of all, I wanted to say this, like when you get rolling, like it's beautiful.
Oh,
It's
come on.
beautiful to watch. It's
And
beautiful.
I also go off course.
It's no, but it's beautiful. Like
Yeah.
you're beautiful in your face, your gestures, everything. When the Holy Spirit starts flowing through what you're saying, it's really, really incredible. I get to be here in the room. Most of you are probably listening to this. Maybe you're catching it on YouTube, but I get to be here and see it, and it's really quite something. Okay. In our last podcast that you and I did together, we talked about finding a common ground. We have to have some sort of a North Star, something that's written down on a page, something that says, hey, we're coming back to this as our North Star. This is the thing that we're both creating. I think the Bible gives us good framework for what marriage is supposed to be, how it's supposed to work, but sometimes it can get a little bit distorted. And so I wanted to touch on that a little bit in this episode for people because the word submit, I think, gets weaponized a little bit and then often just completely avoided in the conversation of marriage because that's sort of like a touchy word in today's society, right? So in your experience, what does biblical submission actually look like for a woman who runs a business, coaches executives, has a strong point of view on everything? What does submit actually look like? And I know you've had lessons. We've talked on this.
Yeah. Well, this is something that honestly did not come easy to me. I did not like the word submission. I did not like the word obedience. I don't like the word surrender. I don't like any of that. I was like, I don't surrender. I don't obey. I don't submit. But then
The warrior queen.
The warrior queen. And actually, I write a lot about it in my book, And Drop the Armor. And I have a whole section on that. So you guys get the book if you haven't already gotten it. Because really, when we understand through the eyes of Christ, through the eyes of God, what the meaning of these words is and the power that's available to us and the life that's available to us when we submit in a godly way, not a dictatorship or authoritarian way, not as, slaves, but really out of devotion and love. The truth is, the word of God says you cannot serve two masters. Either you will love one and hate the other, or you will hate one and love the other, right? And at the end of the day, we're always serving. We're always serving something, and we're always submitted to something, whether we like it or not. We're either submitted and serving greed, fear of not having enough money, fear of running out of time, selfish ambition, like something is driving us, and we're submitted to either a godly mission or an earthly mission. And the word submission means under the mission, under the covering. And so, we do a lot of leadership training. And so one of the big shifts for me was, first of all, really recognizing, man, I have been serving the master of fear for way too long. So much of my drive and my ambition and my, forceful attitude on things was actually a fear of losing control, fear of, the losing things. Like I watched my mom lose her marriage, her family, her household. And I was like, that's never going to happen to me. I'm going to be in charge. And so a lot of that controlling tendency was actually that I was submitted first and foremost to a spirit of fear, a spirit of rejection, a spirit of abandonment. And so what I needed to do was recognize I need to get submitted to the Spirit of God, who is life, who is for me, who is with me, who goes before me, who is adoption, who is sonship or daughter, right? And so I get under this mission. So I'm under the mission. That's submission. Well, the biblical model of marriage is that Christ is the head, then the husband, and then the woman and the family. A woman is designed to have a double covering. And I think this is so beautiful. And this was a game changer for me because I realized, like, secretly, myself and every woman that I've worked with or every wife that I've spoken to in private desperately longs for her husband's protection. Spiritual protection, physical protection, emotional protection, and that's a covering. And the mission there is it's my duty and my job to protect her as her husband and to pray for her and to cover her. But the husband is submitted to Christ. So the biblical model is the husband sacrificially is willing to lay down his life and to love his wife as Christ loves the church, to lay down, to crucify yourself. The woman is called to trust and respect and honor the husband. Okay, they're similar. We're all supposed to love each other as Christ
Yeah,
loved the
yeah.
church. But so I loved this. This changed everything for me, because to submit then means, okay, I'm going to submit because I know I'm really submitted to God's model and his design ultimately. So if you're in a relationship where my husband is a Christ-centered leader who's doing his best to lead from a place of faith, look, he's going to get it wrong. He's going to mess up. He's going to be led astray sometimes. My faith is first and foremost in the protection and the provision and the covering of the Lord. And I continue to pray for you as the head.
Yeah.
Right? That you would, the Holy Spirit would reveal things to you, that you would have conviction, that you would lead, and I speak life into you. I also think it's important to speak for a second to the women or the men who, like, I want to say to them women who are like, well, my husband's not very godly. Maybe he's cheating. Maybe he's lying. Maybe he's taking bad business deals. And so it's like, I don't trust his leadership right now. And we went through that too, where I was like, I love you, but I don't trust you. And I had to, grasp and try to control. I think there's a couple of things here. Is number one, when I tried to control everything, when I tried to hold everything together in my own strength, I was failing miserably. It was creating a bigger divide, and I still wasn't trusting in God. I was trusting in my strength, not his strength. So the Holy Spirit really had to convict me to be like, look, I'm your husband first, not him. You need to learn how to be a bride. My bride. I'm a jealous husband. I don't share. He is. So he did not want me to rely on my own strength. He didn't want me to rebel against him. He wanted me to submit and become devoted to him and love him and trust him. So my first order of business was to submit and trust in the Lord with all my heart and lean not into my own understanding. And while I did that, I prayed for us. And trust needed to be rebuilt over time in our relationship in different seasons, but I still always would honor and respect.
Right.
You can disagree, and the Lord can use each other to speak wisdom. And I could pray and I could say, hey, Mark, I'm struggling with this. I don't think it's a good idea. At the end of the day, I need to release you to God, that, if you're going to make your decision, that you make it from a place of conviction. And if you make the wrong one and it costs us, God still got our back.
Yeah.
And I need to remain steady in that. I think that's a place where a lot of people struggle. It's like, my husband's going to make bad decisions. He's made them in the past. I need to be the God of his life, the manager of his life. I need to be his mama.
Yeah.
All the things. And now there's no honor. There's no respect.
Yeah.
There's no trust. And we're trying to be something that we were never created to be. And by the way, this is what kills your sex drive. This is what makes you tired. This is what makes you unattracted to each other.
So true. This part needs to be clipped out and put into its own little YouTube clip and sent out to the masses, because and I'm not placating when I say this. I think that's the best description I've ever heard
Of submission?
of the biblical view of submission, the actual verbal description. I think that not only did you nail it in truth, but you nailed it in a way that makes it livable.
I thank you. Hey, I want to let you know about a live masterclass I'm hosting soon called Reclaiming the Territory of Your Marriage. I'm going to be sharing the 3 keys to help you rebuild connection with your spouse, restore trust, and lead with greater certainty at home. So click on the link, get registered. This is an exclusive event for a limited time. It is powerful and you do not want to miss it. You're going to walk away with actionable steps and clear strategies that you can apply this week. Click on the link, get registered, and I'll see you on the other side. Also, I want to remember years ago when I was doing some identity work and the Lord showed me a vision. So there was years, I get a lot of visions and dreams, you guys, and that's the way the Lord speaks to me. I'm visionary, I'm a dreamer, so I get a lot of visions and dreams and revelation. And this was a season of my life when we were merging the businesses. We were butting heads on some things. I felt really called to do the work I'm doing. You were being called, to do certain work. And there was areas where we were really unified, but there was also a lot of areas where I was like, man, I don't feel supported. I feel kind of exposed. And the Lord gave me this vision of me being in a carriage, like a queen's carriage, like a royal carriage, right? And the carriage had, not only was it a closed carriage, but it had a covering over it, almost like a tapestry over the top.
Yep.
And as the carriage was moving, it was taking me from assignment to assignment.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I remember in that season, that being such an invitation for the Lord, for me to rest as a woman, as a wife, in spiritual submission, to remind me that I was covered not once, but twice.
Mm-hmm.
And that as I would go to accomplish the plans and purposes God has for me, the assignments, whether it was writing the books, launching programs, building a business together, leading our family, that as I was moving from assignment to assignment, I didn't need to fight my way there. I didn't need to grasp or try to force it or fight you on it. I was being carried by grace, and I was covered by, first of all, the blood of Jesus and the covering of the Lord, but also by you. And this was a prophetic word for me. It was an invitation into the new season. And I believe it's a beautiful picture of what we're invited to as
Mm-hmm.
women, because ladies, that was like the queen's carriage. I wasn't out front leading the charge with my sword, slaying everything. I've had that image sometimes, but I was protected and I was being carried. And I think it's a very accurate picture of how our marriage is today.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very prophetic vision, and it really wasn't that long ago. I don't feel like, but I just made the decision to submit myself to a process of doing something different
Mm-hmm.
in our business. My identity had been wrapped up in being the speaker and someday being an author and keynoter and trainer and all these things, which we still do a little bit of that, but it's not like the core focus. And the Lord led me to get into this season now, the last several months, of creating systems,
Mm-hmm.
right? Creating all the back end support that does allow the carriage to move. And it's been
Structure.
interesting, the structure that allows you to flow. And what was interesting, since we work together, not everybody works together, but you all work together in a household in some way, shape, or form. My job effectively became manage the structure that, my
Create, really
goal, excuse
build.
my
Yeah.
stuttering there. My goal became, can I just create the structure around Christine so that she can just do what God put her here to do, to create, to flow, to be in that space. And we're not 100% there, but we're probably 90% there right now, at least compared to where we were. And it has been really cool to now see that, I'm actually getting the tools and the downloads where I enjoy creating the structure and I'm able to do it in a way that's enjoyable for me, and I'm also creating other things along with it. So it's been interesting to see how that works and how that prophetic vision has actually come to pass.
Okay, also pause before we go to the next one, because
I have so many
words
more
that were
questions.
music, okay, but words that were music to my ears and really shifted like me at a cellular level, even in my nervous system, was when you started saying, it is my mission to build systems and structure around you that protect your time, that protect your energy,
Mm-hmm.
that protect your joy, so that you can do what God put you here to do. You can do it from a place of fullness. You can love doing it, not because you have to do it, not because you're forced to do it, because we need to make the finances meet or whatever, but you actually feel supported. And that, as a high achieving, highly driven woman, I can guarantee you that's not only music to my ears, that's music to every woman, because our energy is our creative life force.
Mm-hmm.
Our energy is our ability to nurture you, to have desire, to speak life into you, to give you words of affirmation, to
Yep.
have physical desire. And so if you're not supporting and protecting our energy, then we need to be the sole protector of our energy. And it becomes this whole thing where it's like, I need to have boundaries around myself. And we don't realize, I'm putting boundaries between me and you because I don't want you to suck the energy out of me. Do you know what I'm saying? And I hear this all the time. And I felt like this very much in the past, where I was like, I need to protect my energy because he's just here to siphon it all from me, because he needs me to affirm him. He needs me to make him feel good about him. So he needs me to, and he's plugging into me. And by the time I'm done, I got nothing left to give, and I don't want to. And in fact, we had a coaching session recently with someone where literally she was in tears, and she said, by the time I'm done giving my energy to everything at work and everything in the house, she's like,
Mm-hmm.
she was crying. She said, I have nothing left to give him.
Mhm.
And what she wanted so desperately, even though she was talking about all the doing, because she was still in this performer's mindset, she was like, I need you to do this and this and this. I helped her get to the point of what she really was craving was someone who would help protect her energy
Mhm.
and provide an environment that she could be able to relax, turn
Yeah.
it off, and actually just be a wife.
Right. Hence the mission of the organization that we run, which is to help leaders curate environments within which their people can thrive.
Mhm.
Right. Like that really is it. I think I'd liken it to, I like to garden, and, like I want to have
Mhm.
more garden
Mhm.
than we have in our little half-acre lot here. But
On the golf
I'm
course.
content with what I have back here right now. But I enjoy going out and looking at my plants in the morning and seeing how is the environment doing. Does it need
Mhm.
more water today? Did it rain
Mhm.
enough last night? Does the soil feel moist? To this morning I was out plucking Brussels sprouts because they were too close together,
Mhm.
and you have to cull some so that the others can thrive, and like I really get a lot of joy out of doing that. And for me, it's a little bit of a microcosm of what has to happen around here,
Mhm.
right? Like it's my role to help curate. It's our relationship role to
Yeah.
do this together, but you know, the structure wise, like I mean, man, at 45, I'll be 45 in a week, and it's like just figuring this out. I feel like so immature for so long.
Hey, at least you're not
Uh,
80.
but yeah, right, right. Uh, and kudos to the guys who got there sooner. And for the
Mhm.
rest of you that are joining me, welcome to the club. It is better over here on this side once you figure out how to nail this in your unique way. Okay, we're like 40 minutes into this already, so I'm going to do a bit of a speed round. I wrote 10 questions, and
Okay,
we've got
speed
through
round.
so
Boom,
far.
boom,
We
boom.
got to
30
two
seconds or
two
less. Oh
questions so
gosh.
far.
Okay.
Okay, so we're
forgive me.
gonna hit speed run. So just try to be a little bit succinct with these,
Okay, Lord, give
and
me concise language
and
in the
because
name of
there are
Jesus.
some really good pieces in here that I
Okay.
think tactically, at least,
We're
someone
not
listen.
bound by time. We can take
We
as
are
long as we.
definitely not bound
I'm
by
flying
time,
out today to get
other
a
than leaving for
Nashville.
the
So
airport
okay.
soon. So I'm going to implement some structure
Okay.
around when this gets to end here in
Okay,
about 10
structure.
minutes. Okay. All right. A lot of men here lead your wife, but they think control. This was my model of the world, by the way, growing up. Okay, where does leadership end and control begin? How does a high-powered woman know the difference?
Well, there's a distinct difference between power and force.
Mm,
Power doesn't need to prove anything. It doesn't need to fight for anything. It doesn't need to peacock for anything. It just is.
mm-hmm.
Power demands respect without any words
Beautiful.
because it just is, versus force that is constantly trying to force someone to see what they're doing. Did you see what I did? Did you see what I did for you? Right. So I'll just land it with that. True
Well,
power
yeah.
does not, it just operates differently. It
And
feels differently. So are you operating from power, or are you still trying to force everything?
wow, great answer. That also ties back to some other things that we said earlier on about getting yourself right and working on the inner game, because that allows you to come lead from a place of power as opposed to control or, in many cases, manipulation.
Yeah, because if you know that you, and a lot of times this is where we can get triggered because you're like, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. That's not how I said it. And it's like, well, if you get triggered easily and you're easy to offend, then you're easy to manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
But power knows its intent, it
Mm-hmm.
knows its heart, it resonates differently. And if somebody misunderstands you or the way that you said, it's not going to get defensive like a raccoon. It's going to say, hold on a second, help me understand where you're coming
Yep.
from.
By the way, your sarcastic comments, in order to try to get people to hear you without actually saying what you mean, those are a form of manipulation. Hard lesson from the last year.
Passive
Okay.
aggressive behavior is
When
still
have I
aggressive.
gotten the leadership thing wrong with you in a way that actually made it harder for you to do what God put you here to do?
Say that again.
When have I gotten leadership wrong in a way that it made it harder for you to do what God put you here to do?
Mm. When have you gotten the leadership
That's a
wrong?
very vulnerable question. I'm like shaking a little bit.
Oh, right after the spirit of offense question. I'll say this, for me, a really big part of certainty, security, my ability to relax is to know that you are consulting the Lord before you make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been times, and we actually had this conversation very recently. It's easy when we get new tools, we get new opportunities, we get new deals in the pipeline. we're very creative, we're very innovative. So it can be easy to get hijacked by emotions, opportunities, shiny objects, distractions. And so we've both done this, by the way, that we've been hijacked by a great idea or an opportunity that was not a God opportunity. And it led us down the wrong path, wrong partnership, wrong financial decisions that ended up costing us a lot. In fact, costing trust, because we didn't operate from a place of discernment. So I'll just say this, as a woman who is also very committed to being close to the Lord, it gives me a lot of peace to know that you are going to the Lord with every opportunity, with everything that we're, vision that we have, and to make sure, like, God, is this a God thing, or is this just a good thing? Is this just a good idea? Am I excited, or is this your Holy Spirit? Because when a man leads from conviction, it has a different potency to it. And someone will go to the ends of the earth with you, but if you are just hijacked emotionally and then you're leading people astray, that's dangerous, because now it's like, wait, can I trust your discernment? Can I trust your convictions?
That's good. That's good. Okay. What's the moment you felt most led, most spiritually covered in our marriage? And what was I actually doing in that season?
Well, I'm going to come back to prayer, because a couple things: prayer and consistency. Prayer and consistency. For me, I do a lot of work on breaking generational patterns. A lot of the work I do with my clients is very deep. It's holistic, which means we're dealing with spiritual roots, emotional roots, mental roots, physical shifts. And so there's been seasons where I've felt very much under attack, and I didn't just feel it. I knew that I was, under spiritual attack, doubts, self-doubts, insecurities, external attacks from the outside. And there was some of those seasons where you weren't covering me. And I felt very vulnerable. We had open doors, things, snuck into our house. And so when I feel most protected is when you recognize the depth of the work and the calling that God has invited me into, and that you take your spiritual position as the priest and the warrior, to cover me, to cover our home, to cover our children. And you take the lead and initiative on praying together, speaking the declarations of our marriage. We're big believers that words create life or death. And so that's a big one. And then the consistency, because it's different if you just do it once. Oh, we went to a conference. Cool. Let's do it. But every woman, especially again, every woman's looking more for what you're going to, how you're going to show up over time, your actions, not just your words. And consistency shows faithfulness. And faithfulness is what matters, not just physical faithful, but he follows through on what he says.
It's like the husband gym.
I just thought it was funny also, as you were saying before about the garden, because there was a season of our life earlier in our marriage where your identity, remember, you're like, I'm like the gardener. So we do a lot of identity work. And every new season, the Lord invites us, and there's a fresh identity that's breathed into us. That's why whenever we work with couples or we work with leaders, it's important to know what is the season you're in, because different seasons require different strategies, different weapons, and every season has a new identity. Remember, in the old season, 2 or 3 or even more ago, gardener. Remember, you were like, I'm the gardener. I'm tending the garden. My goal is to get the garden. And then you moved into, the next iteration. And then it was steadfast shepherd. And now I believe it's evolving again, right? And it continues to evolve to match the future season that we're stepping into.
Yeah. Super interesting, right? Okay. If a husband came to you and said that my wife is high capacity, high standards, and nothing I do feels like enough, what's the first thing you tell him?
I honestly, the first thing I would do is, first of all, go talk to the Lord. Number one, these 2 things. Number one, stop going to her to give you all the answers. Stop going to her to try to get approval, significance, affirmation, confirmation, connection. Get quiet, get a journal, get in your thinking chair, and bring all of your unspoken resentments, disappointment, bitterness, all the stuff you have towards her, because it's never good enough. You're never going to be, you have all this garbage that quite honestly you're carrying around with you, and it stinks. You need to take that garbage and you need to lay it at the altar, because the Lord knows what's in your heart. Pray the prayer. Lord, search my heart. Search me. Know if there's any anxious way in me. You know my every need before I say a word. You know my every thought before I even raise up. Is there anything in me that is blocking my ability to truly love, to truly connect, bring it up now so that I can lay it on the altar, give it to you. And you, like, really, with his fire, he will transform that. That's step one, because if you go,
Boom.
it's literally like walking into your marriage with a bunch of bags of old garbage and you're sitting them at the table and you're like, hey, let's have a conversation. And I'm like, dude, it stinks in here. It smells bad, because there's a smell in the atmosphere to resentment. There's a smell to bitterness. There's a smell to a lying spirit, to deception, to division. So you need to deal with that in the secret place. Number two, I don't think that enough men do this ever, really. And it's a terrifying thing to go to your wife and say, you know what? My greatest desire is truly that you would be delighted, to protect you, to provide for you, to make you happy. I don't know how. I'm struggling. I feel like nothing I do is good enough and I want to do better. I don't know how. Would you help me understand what you actually need? What makes you feel protected? What are you afraid of? Like, seek to understand, but lead with honesty. Stop pretending like you do know, because you don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that there's so much power in a woman, because we've had that conversation many times where you've been frustrated and you've been like, I don't know, Christine, how to do this. And that softened my heart, because now it's like, oh God, he doesn't know. And then it allowed me to enter into grace and stop condemning you.
Man, I've been condemned. Jeez.
Well, I think we all do it to each other. We expect, when I say condemning, is like we're judging them, like, well, shouldn't they just know? Shouldn't they know that's offensive to me? Shouldn't he know that's what I want? Shouldn't he know? How many times do I hear that? Well, they should just know that about me. Yeah. Really?
Isn't this so interesting too, though? That's what we do in our culture. We do that to our leaders, to our CEOs, to people in the media. This is what, social media warriors are out there all the time. Like, they should have known better. They should have never done this. You don't know the story.
We don't know. What's going on. We're figuring it out as we go. We're struggling. Not really. We're wrestling.
I think one thing that's really interesting about, or maybe poignant to point out about what you just said, is that if you're the man, like, and you decide to humble yourself and go to your wife and say, I don't know, like, there's two ways to do that. One is actually being humble and going with full humility, hat in hand, saying, like, I screwed this up. I don't know how to fix this, or I don't know how to do this. Like you're really, like, there's an energy signature that comes with going about it that way. The other one is when you go and you say it through a tone of resentment.
Well, that's just who you're submitted to.
So those are, but to be careful, because I can see some people.
You can't be throwing your hands up and
I don't know how to do this. Their heart's not in a good place, and say, well, they said to do this, and it's like, no, like, you need to own this. Like, you actually don't know.
So what are you going to do about it?
But do the first thing first, which is you actually go and you have your conversation with the Lord, and like, write it down in a journal or voice record it into your phone, and then, like, delete it. Right? Or write it down and burn it, or whatever you got to do to just to, like, get it out. But I've done this again and again and again, where I'll just go on a long walk and I'll get it out. Sometimes I don't record it at all, and I just say it, right? And I just talk to the Lord, and I just I will complain, and he will hear me until I finally come to my senses.
He's like, are you done?
And he's like, are you ready? Are you ready for that? Do you get that out? Right? Did you clean that out? But it works.
It does work.
Right? It works.
But that's why I gave it in that order.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do step one and you just try to do step two, it will be the wrong heart. And you'll be like the employee who comes, who doesn't have the solution. It's like, I don't know how to do this. Well, you could say, hey, I don't know how to do this. I'm struggling, but I'm going to find out. I'm going to seek help. I'm going to seek getting skills. I'm committed to doing something about it. Isn't that what we want from our employees? Isn't that what we want from our kids? If we ask them to do something and they don't know, do we want them to hide and pretend that they did it? Do we want them to just keep lying to us, or do we want them to say, hey, Mom, like, I'm struggling. I think I'm really messing this up. I don't want to make it worse. I need help. And also, leadership is willing to be honest and vulnerable about what they don't know, and also take the lead to say what they're doing about it. Meaning, I am seeking the Lord. I'm seeking to understand. And let's get together and pray about it. Yeah. That's leadership. You can still lead when you don't have the answer.
Yeah.
You lead in uncertainty. And by the way, going back, like people and a woman will follow a leader, a husband who is able to lead with that level of humility and leadership at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And
As you
yeah,
say that, I think about David
yes.
when he was out with his mighty men, and they come back and their village had been ransacked and all their women and all their things had been taken, and and the men are distraught and they're tired because they had been in battle. And so before they pick up their swords and go after them, David submits himself to the Lord and says, Lord, should I pursue?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And actually goes and asks whether or not he should do it. I think that's
Yes.
sort of reminiscent of what you're
So
saying right there.
totally.
Okay, two more quick questions. These ones are for the ladies.
Okay, let's
Okay.
go.
All right.
For the ladies.
High standards and grace are in tension constantly, right?
Mm-hmm.
High standards and grace for when those standards are not met is what I mean by this. High standards and grace are in tension constantly. How do you hold high standards in a marriage without your husband feeling like he's always falling short?
I think, first of all, standards are personal. You come into my office, is it like I have a standard for how I maintain my space?
Mm-hmm.
I clean my desk at the end of the day. I have a standard for I like to walk into a place, have it be light, have it be airy, have a clean space, because I know for me, when I step in, I want to create from a clear mind. If I have a standard for what I'm going to eat, how I'm going to, it's because I have a standard for the respect I have for my body.
Yeah.
If I have a standard for how we speak as a family or to each other, it's because I have a standard for the language that comes out of my mouth, because I have ownership. Like, I know the power of what I have to create or destroy with my words.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe that, yes, first of all, we all have internal standards that we're always being invited to get into alignment with God's standards. We'll never be fully, perfect, because we're not perfect. But we try to be more Christ-like every day. I want to have a better standard for what I allow my eyes, the eye gates in my eyes to hear, to see, to hear, the words I speak, how I take care of my space. That's a personal, internal relationship and conviction between me, myself, and God, first and foremost. So we know this, that the best leadership is to role model without saying anything. It's like, just be it. Be
Mm-hmm.
the healthy one. Don't talk to everybody else about what diet you're on, and everybody, it makes me think back to the days when I had the gym, and like people would come in and they'd go on these detoxes, and all of a sudden mom or the wife is on the Whole30 plan or whatever. Now the whole family has to be on it. Not everybody has to do it that way.
Yeah.
But as you lead, others follow. As you role model and you start showing up differently, there's a natural influence, that an impact that happens. So that's number one.
Yep.
Secondly, though, I do believe that as women, the beautiful thing about a woman is that we can invite someone into the next level of beauty, into the next level of clarity, into the next level of, intimacy, through the standard of like, hey, when you come into this space, if the space is beautiful, I'm using space because aesthetics are important to a lot of women. And like
Yep.
our room, like our bedroom, we make our bed. We have beautiful pillows everywhere. The room is clean. If I walk into a clean space that is beautiful, I'm naturally more inclined to relax and feel beautiful, versus me walking into a space that's a hot mess, disorganized. It makes me look and feel frumpy, disorganized, messy, like I just want to collapse in the pile of crap. So like, the invitation for the women is, first of all, how do you want to feel for yourself? What are the standards that you want to hold because of how you want to feel in your body, in your mind, in your space? I want to feel relaxed. I want to feel beautiful. Okay, these are godly standards. Now, I can invite my husband to experience that. There's a difference. Okay, when you come into the Queen's office, you come up here for a reason, and you come sit on my Queen's terrace for a reason. Why is that?
Because I can unplug.
Because why?
It's relaxing up here. The atmosphere is better.
Because why?
Because you're here.
I'm here. This place is saturated in soaking worship music. Yes, it's more private. It's pretty. It's beautiful. I invite you into my beautiful space, into my experience. And so this reminds me again of like the Queen's chamber, the Queen's presence, a woman's ability to invite her husband into an experience with a better standard. It makes me think about travel. I love to travel. I don't just like to travel to Holiday Inns. I like beautiful experience and beautiful places. And when we met, you'd never been really you'd been to Macedonia, but other than that, you hadn't really traveled. You certainly weren't staying in beautiful places. But I kept inviting you to
Yeah.
experience more of the joie de vivre, the life, the beauty. And now it's
Right.
like, wow, there's such a depth and romance and beauty to it. And that's what I mean. Like a bachelor pad is different than a home.
Mm-hmm.
A takeout meal or a meal you cook by yourself is different than one that has been put together
Right.
with love. So I don't know if that answers the question. I think it does.
Well, I think it does, to
Start
the
with yourself.
extent where it's like, hey, like, so how do you continue to hold high standards when without him feeling like he's always falling short, right? And it's like, to an extent, I mean, you don't ask me to come up here and clean your office for you so you can have a clean
Yeah,
space or
I
anything
think
like
I
that.
do
Like, you
have
just do these things, and of course there's also tension in how we manage the family to keep other spaces in the house clean and up to standard and things like this. These are other discussions, that we have. I think you've hit on a lot of this earlier in this podcast as well, though. So I would go back and review some other things that Christine has said as it pertains to
And just
this
real quick, I
particular
just
question
think
as well.
like, okay, real quick. If it's really messy in your office or if something's really messy, I'll just ask you, hey, would you mind
Yeah.
cleaning that up? I'm just so much more relaxed when there's order. Like I will say that and let you know, like I'm way more relaxed when there's order. I've had my moments where I come in and I'm like, it's a hot mess in here. But don't be afraid to ask for what you desire. Secondly, they're my standards and there is grace in the process. But also, if we have made an agreement that we're going to uphold a certain
Yes.
standard.
And that's where I was going to
Yeah. If
go.
we
It's
have
like,
made an agreement that like, hey, we're going to keep this space because it's a public space clean and organized, and this is what it looks like, then that's like having an SOP in a business. If people continue to break the protocol and make it messy, now it's like we have a conversation about what we agreed to, because now we're breaking trust and we're breaking agreements. It's no longer about grace.
Good. I like it. Last question.
Okay.
For the woman listening right now who's wondering if she has to shrink herself in order to have a biblical marriage.
Absolutely not. Arise and shine, for your light has come, and the glory and the radiance of the Lord is upon you. I will say that. Go read Isaiah 60. Arise and shine. But you can't shine in your own strength, trying to hold everything together, trying to be everything for everyone. Give yourself permission to 100% be who God created you to be. Get into an intimate love affair with God before you try to have one with your husband, because he is the ultimate source of protection, of provision, and he is the ultimate masculine. And when you get around that, the feminine inside of you cannot help but come out. And so the more that you're in that space, the more it will naturally transfer to the physical spaces around you.
Beautiful.
That's it.
There it is.
Bring it home.
These are all your questions for today.
That's the questions for today. Okay, well, thank you for joining us. I think that was a really good conversation.
Honestly, yeah. How do you lead a high-powered woman?
Did we handle it?
There's a book right in here. There's a whole nother book.
Hopefully we gave you guys some tactical, practical things. Thank you for being here. This, I think, is one that you might want to bookmark different parts or share. As always, subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who needs to be in this conversation. And let's give it up for Mark. He's great at interview questions. By the way, he has his own podcast called The Intentional Ag Leader, where he interviews people every week, some leading industry leaders. And so it's all about leadership, intentional leadership at work, as well as I think you guys talk about personal stuff as well.
Of course.
But anyways, thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next week.